Working the John Fredericks Radio apps, coming to you live, Washington, D.C., land of milk and honey, the greatest, most beautiful city, safest city in America. Thank you, Donald J. Trump. How to turn a complete crap hole into Disney World in 9 months or less. That was President Trump. Thanks for doing that. And of course, I'm running for Ward 2 chairman. Let's go to my website, makedcgreat.com. MakeDCGreat.com. You can help me out there with a donation. Got to get signatures, so working on that. Got Casey Crosby coming up. And this segment brought to you by the Safer Supervision Act. Why do I favor the Safer Supervision Act? Because it is a federal bill that will allow those former prisoners that got let out of jail that are on federal parole supervision to earn credits to get off supervision faster by good behavior, by doing the things you want, getting a job, being drug and alcohol free, doing all the things you ask, being with their family, being good stewards to their family if they have kids, etc. So that's what we want. You get to earn credits, and then that gets you off supervision quicker, which then frees up your life. You're not reporting in. It's not hurting your job opportunities. And it also frees up parole officers, which are under-resourced in America, to then focus on those who need the supervision, which is the purpose of a parole officer. So it's just a great bill. We fought to have it passed in Virginia. It's been fabulous there. Thank you, Governor Youngkin, for signing that. I know you got a lot of flack over it, but this is the absolute thing to do. And all you have to do to get more information, help us out, is go to safersupervision.com. Safersupervision.com. This has been paid for by the Reform Action Fund. Joining me now, without further ado, Casey Crosby. She is the vice chair of the Republican National Committee. Casey, it's great to have you on. Great to see you a couple weeks ago in Santa Barbara. Thanks for joining us, Casey.
Thanks for having me.
Always effervescent and energetic as always, even early in the morning. We thank you for that. And Casey, when I talked to her in Santa Barbara, she said, I love to take calls. I love to take people's calls. I love to hear from people, which is a lot of, people get a little nervous about that. Casey doesn't care. She wants to hear from you. 888-480-JOHN. You want to weigh in? 888-480-5646. You can talk to Casey, the vice chair of the Republican National Committee. So Casey, let me just start with what's on everybody's mind, which is the midterms and the hand-wringing going on and the base is not turning out and the Virginia debacle. The New Jersey was worse. Pennsylvania seat, Trump 15, couldn't win that. Dallas, complete debacle there, lost that Senate seat. A lot of people getting upset. We can't get our voters out. How do we turn the corner and win the midterms? Casey Crosby.
Hey, you've heard me say time and time again, we are very optimistic going into the midterms and making sure that President Trump is a 4-year president. I think when you look at some of the circumstances, you mentioned some special elections across the country. Those are indeed special elections. Those are more difficult, as we know historically, for turnout. And, Virginia, New Jersey, we're going to be uphill battles. Those are blue states. I mean, New Jersey, you're comparing the Democrat registration there to like a state like Alaska. And so we gave it everything we had in those states. We had great candidates. In fact, I joke, if we had candidates like Winsome Sears and Jack Ciattarelli in a state like Kentucky, we'd win with them all day long.
Casey, you really can't say with a straight face that Winsome Sears was a good candidate. She was probably the worst candidate the Republicans have put up in Virginia in 150 years. I mean, come on. She was look, we all backed her. We had no choice because Youngkin cleared the field. But that was a terrible campaign with no party and a terrible candidate. So the other guy, Jack, I thought was formidable. Lindy Wamgrass was a good candidate, but Winsome Sears was a dreadful candidate. The campaign was a clown car from day one. So that's just inaccurate.
Well, I can say you and I can agree to disagree there.
She was just horrible. She was just ridiculous. It was a horrible candidacy. But look, the other candidates were good, and so on that we'll agree. All right, let's get the phone lines. Larry in Virginia for the vice chair of the RNC. Larry, go ahead.
Good morning, ma'am. Your last statement just proved that That's why I left the Republican Party years ago. Winsome Sears was the most horrible candidate I ever seen in my life. Her first political ads were pathetic. She had no money. Our lieutenant governor candidate had no money. Where was the Republican Party for him? The Republican Party, I believe, in my opinion, has just forsaken the birthplace of the United States of America, the Commonwealth of Virginia. And what are y'all's plans to make sure that we can take California, Virginia, New York? There's no game plan. I have not seen a game plan from the Republican Party. The only person that's come up with a game plan is President Trump so far. Like, you know who Tip O'Neill is?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Larry.
Do you know what he was
thank you.
famous for? You know what he
Thank
was?
you. We gotta move on to other callers. All right.
Yeah,
Casey, go ahead.
I find it a little interesting. There's no daylight between us and the White House. Right now, our plan is working very closely with President Trump, and our goal is very simple. We are going to make sure that President Trump is a four-year president, and we do that by winning the midterms. The Republican National Committee does not get involved in primaries, as you all know, and, basically we support then our candidates. So when I say we had candidates that we got behind and supported in places like Virginia and New Jersey and other areas, that's what we do. Once the primaries shake out and the voters decide, or the committees decide, whatever the primary process is in the state, who their nominees are going to be, we get behind the candidates. And so our plan is pretty simple, and we work closely with White House. And so if people are disappointed, I mean, this is a one-team effort. I've never seen unity like this before between the White House, the RNC, our sister committees. It has been pedal to the metal, and we are going to go out and win these midterms.
Tell me about tell me about the we all want the SAVE Act to pass. We want voter ID to pass. We're not going to be able to do that without John Thune getting rid of this ridiculous 60-vote cloture rule. And you say you're aligned with President Trump. President Trump has, on numerous occasions, encouraged the senators, the Republican senators, to abandon that rule so we could pass the SAVE Act, reopen the DHS. What are your thoughts on that, Casey?
Yeah, I think our Chairman Gruters, has been pretty public with his comments regarding the SAVE Act, and we need to get it passed. I mean, it is a item and an issue that over 80% of the American public agrees with, and so it's common sense. People should have to show an ID when they vote, period. And so we would agree, and we've been pretty public out there from our chairman and our committee on where we stand on passing the SAVE Act.
Okay. Okay, so you mentioned that we shouldn't be alarmed because the turnout we got in the specials, but then we also had the same thing in some of the in New Jersey and Virginia. So I guess my question is, there's back to the first one. There's a lot of concern now that we just can't get Trump voters out, and we look at Casey. We look at this booming economy. We look at peace on the world stage. We look at the Rubio speech. We look at Venezuela. Maduro's out. I mean, President Trump has had a mind-boggling first year. The borders are closed. I mean, nobody gets in. And we've, maybe people wanted 20 million people deported, but we have deported 2 million people. So it's not like we've done nothing. So his record is just exemplary. Why can't that translate down? Why are we getting so many people upset in our base? This is what I can't figure out. Other than the Epstein files, separate issue.
Yeah, so I mean, I think what you're going to see is, again, we have special elections. This is a midterm election, and President Trump has an outstanding record, and we're going to be running on that. There is a story to tell about all these different issues and his accomplishments, and what you're going to see is one team moving forward. I mean, again, it's pedal to the metal, everybody on board, making sure that we're out communicating President Trump's message, but more importantly, there is no more effective communicator than the president himself. We saw him in Iowa a few weeks ago. He's going to be in Rome, Georgia this week. I mean, he is out also talking talking about his message and appealing to the Trump voters. And so it's all hands on deck. But again, the president and the vice president are both going to be very active, as I understand, on the campaign trail. And, and hopefully that'll ignite a lot of their voters. That's our plan and frankly, the RNC has spent a lot of money. We've invested in data. We've invested in digital. Certainly, our efforts with election integrity to protect the vote, and every penny that we spend is going to be going towards these midterm elections and making sure that we win.
Well, listen, the RNC's efforts in 2024 were exemplary. And I've said that 100 times because I worked with you guys hand in hand, and Chairman Watley at the time, and then your predecessor, co-chair Laura Trump. But you guys did a fabulous job. And both you and Grudas have a lot of energy. But as you said, I mean, basically, this operation is being run by the White House political team. It's run by President Trump. We understand that. Very excited that he's going to Georgia tomorrow. Tell me a little about that.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, Georgia's a target state. We have some important races there. And, again, there's no more effective communicator than President Trump himself. I mean, when I travel the country, people love President Trump. You talked about me being bubbly this morning. I've already been on a flight this morning to get to D.C. And so I started early, but I sat next to a gentleman on the plane, and he just talked nonstop about the president and just how excited everything that he was doing and accomplishing. And I hear that as I travel all across the country. And so there is no one to ignite the base like President Trump. And I think that's going to be great in a state like Georgia. And I think we're going to see it week after week where the president is able to get out and talk about his message and his accomplishments with the support of the others in his administration who are absolutely killing it. And then the Republican National Committee. It is all hands on deck.
Well, Casey, welcome to the safest, most beautiful city in America, Washington, D.C., where I am right now. My studio, and my studio 2 blocks from the White House. My house a block and a half, so that's good. So welcome here. Great to have you.
Thank you.
Love to. I don't know what your schedule is. I'll reach out if you have some free time. We can get a cup of coffee or something. But are you going to Atlanta? I mean, Rome as well?
No, sir, I'm not going to be in Georgia tomorrow. I am doing work here in DC. I've been on the road. I was 2 solid weeks on the road, out campaigning in some target states and celebrating a 60th anniversary of one of our GOPs. So, unfortunately, I'm stuck here, but I would love nothing more to be in Georgia, a good southern state with our friends there, talking about the president's record. And I feel certain I will probably be in Georgia a lot like I was last cycle.
Can I travel around the country, and people that listen to me, they say, come on, Fredericks, Washington, D.C. can't be that good. It's not really changed that much, right? You come here often. Just back me up here. Have you ever seen a metamorphosis in a city in 9 months like you've seen here? Ever in your life?
I haven't. In fact, a lot of times I stay just a few blocks from our offices at a hotel. And, when I was treasurer coming into the building, I didn't even feel safe really walking the few blocks to get to our office. And now I feel safe. I walk all over. Sometimes I like to just get out and clear my mind. And I feel completely safe walking around DC now. It's crazy how much it has transformed. So I totally agree with you. We're on the same page there.
I know. When you get to Reagan, do you take the metro or do you take Lyft or a cab?
Sometimes I just catch a ride from somebody on staff. It just depends on who's going that way. It just varies where I am and what I'm doing in town. So it varies.
Metro, totally safe. I first got here. My wife, she wouldn't ride the Metro, would not ride a bus. You couldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't do it. No way. Now we ride the Metro everywhere. I don't need a. I can't remember. The last time I was driving my vehicle, I had to go to West Virginia. I couldn't remember where the heat thing was. I'm like, when was the last time I drove a car? So, you've been fabulous. Do we still have Casey?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know what happened.
All right, 2 more quick calls, and then we'll go because I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate you coming on. I always do. Nancy in South Jersey, line 1. Nancy, you're live with KC Crosby.
Good morning, and good morning, Casey.
Morning.
John, the reason that we're not having voter turnout, and you know the answer already, it's because we don't feel that there is anyone worthy of our vote, that Trump is the one who is doing everything, and I mean everything. He's not getting support that he needs from Congress or the Senate. You want us to show up, not you, but in particular, the party wants us to show up and to vote to ensure that we don't lose the House or the Senate, but we have no faith in them. I don't want to see a repeat of Trump's first term, but John, it's ridiculous. I feel we don't need any more Trump rallies. I think they're losing their luster. What we need is candidates that inspire us and who we believe in and who we want to vote for. Trump cannot save America by himself. He's doing a darn good job. John, just the illegal issue alone is enough for me to not turn out. The fact that they're slow walking, fixing our elections is enough for me to not turn out. I promise you I will vote, but I promise you there are many, many people I speak with who I try very hard to convince to vote, who are telling me that they see no reason to vote for candidates who they don't believe in and who they don't believe support the agenda that we elected Trump for.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Nancy. Casey Crosby, co-chair RNC. Go ahead and respond to that, Casey.
Well, there's a lot to unpackage there, but I will say that that's why it matters so much that you choose good candidates and get good candidates through the primary that support President Trump's agenda. You know, it's unfortunate. I think everybody should exercise their right to vote, regardless of whether or not they are fully love somebody, because the fact is, if you don't go vote or people are not thrilled with the Republican running, first of all, that's an issue with candidate recruitment and quality, which normally falls back to at the very ground level, grassroots level, making sure that you get good people involved who want to run for office. But furthermore, anytime you hand it over to the Democrats by sitting it out, that doesn't help Republicans win elections. That doesn't help President Trump. And so, I go to work every day thinking, is what I'm doing today helping Republicans win and helping President Trump be a 4-year president? That's all I think about all day long, every single day. And if you're a Republican and you are not trying to help Republicans get elected, it's sad, because President Trump, we will not have his agenda for a full 4 years if that's the type of mentality our voters take. And it's going to take everybody, again, working together, unified, making sure that we go out and support our candidates. And frankly, we can't control who you guys put through or who you put up sometimes to run for these offices. I mean, John, you mentioned you're running for Ward 2, you're collecting signatures. It's tough. People have no idea what it takes to run for office until you're actually there. And at the end of the day, regardless of anything, it is on you. You're the candidate, and the fundraising, the meeting people, getting out your message, it ultimately is your name on the ballot. And so I've been a candidate, I've served in public office, and that's all you got at the end of the day. It does come back to you. And so, again, people need to get out and vote, because if they don't and they can't find something good in the Republicans, then we're going to hand this election over, and that would be really traumatic.
It is hard. I mean, just getting signatures. I mean, you got to get all weekend.
Yeah.
You're on the phone trying to call up Republicans and, make an appointment to go to their house. And, they're busy. They're out of town. They don't really want to see anybody. Who are you? I mean, you got to do it yourself to understand how difficult this process is, especially where we are.
And people have no comprehension what it takes. And and a lot of times I laugh because obviously the chairman and I are easy targets for the keyboard warriors to go after, and a lot of the times people just have no appreciation or understanding for what it takes. I mean, you're there now, it's hard to get signatures, and not only is it hard to get signatures, but you have to go above and beyond what is necessary, the minimum requirement, because you could be challenged if they're not legitimate signatures, or spouse signs, or so on and so forth. So it's very difficult to put your name out there. And so I would encourage people to get involved and help these candidates, help them do whatever they can. I mean, the consequences are huge this cycle, and we all have to be unified. We can't shoot darts from within the tent. Once these primaries shake out, everybody needs to come
I
together,
agree
and
with
we
that.
need to work hard for President Trump.
I agree with that 100%. You know what? We can do what we want during the nominating process, however that may be. But what the Democrats do is whoever that nominee is, game, set, match. It's over.
Yeah.
No complaints. Everybody lines up. Everybody's behind him. We're still fighting 6 months later, which is killing us. So on that, we're 100% in agreement. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
You lose your primary. That's a Republican candidate. And look, I had my problems with Winsome. She was a nominee. Soon as it was done, I was 100%. I did a bus tour for 3 weeks. Did whatever I could do. Thought she was a horrible candidate. It didn't matter. It's all we had. So you got to line up behind it. Okay,
Hey,
final.
hey, listen, I lost a primary once, and the next day I turned around and wrote a check to
You
the
lost a
guy.
primary? How
Well,
could
I
any?
was on a ticket, and
What?
I lost on a gubernatorial ticket, and the next day I turned around and wrote a check to our opponent. I mean, who just beat us. I
Who
mean,
would
that's what you
ever
do.
vote against you in a Kentucky primary? Oh my
I don't
God.
know. They were well. If I was at the top of the ticket, maybe. No, I don't know. But seriously, you get behind the people who make it through the primaries, and again, we've got to work together. You can't shoot from within inside the tent, and and I worked hard for that person. And in fact, they won, and so I was very proud of the work that I did. I was proud of the election that I ran, and it happens sometimes, but it's
Well,
hard.
listen,
It's hard to go through that.
If I was in Kentucky, I'd have voted for you. So would my
Oh,
wife,
thank
hands down.
you.
You're the best. You take all our calls. I got one more call, and then I have to go because
Yeah,
your
me too.
staff is going to go crazy in about 3 seconds.
Probably.
Final call. Mike in Virginia with Casey Crosby, co-chair, Republican National Committee. Go ahead, Mike.
Quick quote. Well, not quote. I don't know what the Republican Party is doing about this special election in Virginia. I see all this propaganda 24/7, all coming through all this dark money that's coming in from donors to the Democrats. I haven't seen any pushback other than you, John. There's nobody else even voicing concern about this. I'm sitting there looking at these ads. Had I not been informed at all, what are they talking about? It's going to be a temporary thing. I don't understand. It's so misleading. It's like us versus them, and no matter what we got going on, we're going to end up looking wrong. The ad is so misleading. I consider myself a fairly smart person. I can't figure out what they're pushing other than vote against Trump.
So I'll answer and then I'll give it to Casey and she has to go. So the bottom line here, Mike, is that the Democrats will spend, I heard, over $50 million to win this referendum because it could make Hakeem Jeffries the speaker. We don't have the resources. We have no party infrastructure. We just got a new chairman. Virginia. There's no money. And the reality is, when you look at the numbers, they're so bad, and we know they're going to get their vote out, and we know they're going to spend all this money. You have to decide where you're going to put the resources. Right now, the decision has been made that the referendum is not going to get the resources it needs because people feel it's throwing good money after bad. I know that's not the answer we all want to hear, but I'm just giving you the reality of it. That's the reality. Now we'll turn it over to Casey, and then she's got to bounce. Go ahead, Casey.
Well, I will say that the Republican National Committee, our legal team, has been following this very closely. Unfortunately, it's a little premature for me to say anything. I think if you and I were talking later, maybe tomorrow or even Friday, I might have a better update for you. But right now, I can tell you that we are paying very close attention to this. And as you know, when we see opportunities to litigate, to protect the vote, and to protect President Trump and make sure that we win these elections, we are not scared to get involved. So again, can't get ahead of anything here, but I can tell you that just stay tuned.
Listen, Casey, I want to thank you for your time. It takes a lot of courage to get on a national show like ours and take calls. It's not easy to do, and I appreciate your willingness to do that. And I want to thank our callers for that. I want to thank your staff for giving me the flexibility to do that. Thank you, RNC Casey, Chief of Staff. So thank you.
Yeah.
And Casey, always good to have you with us. And think about this. Casey got up at like 3 a.m. to catch a plane to get to D.C., to then get off the plane, get her bag, get picked up, go to a hotel by the RNC offices, by the Capitol, and then flip on a camera and get on our show. I mean, that's a pretty good morning so far, don't you think, Casey?
I think so. I love being with you this morning. I can't wait till next time.
All right, Casey, I'll see you. Peach Crew coming up right now. Quick word from our sponsors. No time for music, and we'll be right back.